2019, Top 10 Australian Entrepreneurs for 2020 and 2020 NSW POC Entrepreneur of the Year Award finalist. Welcome on board Anna and Abhinav. Our next speaker is Daniel Spitzer, Chairman and Group CEO, Mountain Hazelnuts Group. Prior to Mountain Hazelnuts, Daniel founded Plantation Timber Products Group in 1993, which he built into China's largest sustainable forestry company and sold it to the International Paper Group in 2004 with attractive returns for its shareholders. Daniel's experience in the Himalayas with the Tibetan Buddhists has led him on a career focused on social impact. He received a BA from University of California, Berkeley, and MA from Stanford University. Welcome, Daniel. Next speaker is Ms. Teresa Law, co-founder and CFO, Mountain Hazelnuts. Prior to Hazelnuts, Ms. Law was chairperson of an NGO focusing on HIV-impacted communities in China. She spent 20 years as an international banker at JP Morgan and Citibank in Hong Kong, the Philippines, Singapore, Malaysia, Taiwan, and the US. Teresa supports innovation on the board of Tao Foundation. In addition to her role as CFO, Teresa leads many of the social initiatives for the company with an emphasis on empowering women and addressing health and well-being. Welcome Teresa on board. And our last speaker is Satyajit Hange, co-founder, farmer, Two Brothers Organic Farms. Satyajit is an economic graduate from Ferguson College and an MBA from University of Pune. He worked in the banking sector for almost a decade with companies like Kotak Life Insurance, Citicorp, Maruti Finance, CBS, and later at Bharati Vidyapeeth. As a CEO director at TBOF, he oversees daily farm operations and also does farming. This is our speaker panel, which will be moderated by Abhijit, the co-founder of Ruksh. Abhijit is passionate to work on inclusive projects that use technology to improve lives. He ran 2 EdTech startups, served as a fellow for Clean India Mission, and has built a regional startup community of over 5,000 people. His work is multifarious in nature spanning inclusive innovation, space research, and entrepreneurship. He is dreamer, innovator, orator, traveler, poet, and Batman, as he describes himself. With this, I welcome the panel, and I would also like to welcome Jatin Chaudhary on the panel. Thank you so much. Over to you, Jatin and Abhijit.
Yes, thank you so much, Harsiddhi. I'll just hand it over to Abhijit. I'm just doing a guest appearance here. So what we will do is that Vivek will lead this. I'll come back around after 30 minutes with some audience questions. So we'll take from social media and those who are live with us. And first of all, thank you so much everyone for accepting the invite. This summit works because people are interested in learning and people are interested in committing their 1 hour to share their experiences and insights. So first, thank you so much for that. Abhijit, now you take
Absolutely. Thank you very much and welcome everyone on stage. I'm so happy to be amongst such amazing individuals. Feels really glad to know about your work and obviously ask you a bunch of questions and let the people know all the amazing stuff that you have been doing. The topic for the panel today is scaling social enterprises and grassroots innovations. I've seen in the past few years of working in this space, there are a ton of entrepreneurs that are trying to build impact, solve problems at a local level, build amazing product for the benefit of grassroots. But still there is a huge challenge when they hit a certain glass ceiling and they want to move forward, but they feel trapped. And the panel here that we have today has overcome those barriers and pushed beyond and really scaled their impact in amazing ways. So while we move forward, I would really, while we had this introduction, let's go around the panel and understand a little bit more about the work that each one of you have been doing. Let me start with Anna here. Would you please take a few minutes and share about your work?
Yes, sure thing. Thank you so much for having me. It's so exciting to be on this panel with all these wonderful speakers and to be included. So thank you. So as you heard in the introduction, I'm from Australia. So it's about 7 p.m. here. It's cold for Australian standards, which means that it's about 12 degrees. So I'm sitting here with hopefully not too much distraction in the background. So I'm the CEO and co-founder of Bindi Maps, and Bindi Maps is a smartphone application that helps anybody find their way around an unfamiliar indoor space. So if you can imagine a large hospital, shopping centre, university, those sorts of places that we may not visit all the time and can be quite confusing once you get there. So the app is nowadays built for everybody, but when we first started the project, we had a very specific use case, and that was building the app for people who are blind or vision impaired. Over here in Australia, there's lots of rules around access and inclusion, but for people who are blind or vision impaired, they boil down to brailled signs. And my question, as I was sort of growing up in Australia, was if I was blind, how would I know that a braille sign was even there? So if I could find it, I would know that I was at a restroom, but the question was how to find it. And then through customer discovery, realized that when you are blind or vision impaired, you're pretty much locked out of large public buildings, or you need to have somebody with you. So Bindi Maps in Australia is short for Be Independent, and is also a reference to the Bindi, the third eye. And so that's where we started, and now we work for everybody.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Anna. I'm a big fan. I came to know about your work actually a little while before, but I wasn't sure that this is the person behind Bindi Maps. It's a beautiful innovation and really helping people or communities, infrastructure become more inclusive. And I think that's one part where we don't do a lot of innovation, and it's really helping. I really believe that you are changing lives of people, helping them navigate around. Moving forward, Abhinav, would you like to take a couple of minutes and share about your work?
Sure. Thank you so much, Abhijit. Anna, fantastic. Congratulations on the work that you do. I started Echo about 14 years back in September of 2007. Since then, we've been providing, we've created an infrastructure to disseminate financial services to low and moderate income customers. And it's been 14 years, so we've kind of pivoted multiple times. At this point in time, especially in the times of COVID, what we do is we empower sellers get first-time access to credit and scale their business. So in India, there is a massive need for assistance to provide financial services to a very large community of people. So within the community of people, we choose sellers, and we have got a very large network of about 200,000, between 200,000 to 300,000 sellers on our platform, train themselves, and then provide different kind of services to their community. And we very sharply focus on the seller network at this point in time. These people are within the community. They're enterprising enough to start their own enterprise. However, when they latch onto our app, they are able to service the community with different kinds of products. These could be basic banking products. These could be insurance products. This could be education product, entertainment product, many different kinds of products. And basis their engagement data as well as transaction data that they kind of perform on our platform, we are able to provide them even more assistance with credit. Most of our sellers, or almost all our sellers, are absolutely new to credit. They have very little presence on financial on banks. They have hardly any presence on the bureaus. It's very difficult to underwrite them. So first of all, we give them an application to start servicing the community and start their livelihood. And once they start to do that, we are able to capture a lot more data and underwrite them to provide even more capital for them to scale their businesses. And I've been doing this for the last 14 years. I continue to be very passionate about this space. And in a country like India, we have about 300,000 sellers and have serviced close to about 35 million customers. And after 14 years and 35 million customers, I feel that this could still grow 10x in the next 3 to 5 years, right? And that keeps us up all night. Even today keeps us excited and passionate about this space pretty much. Yeah, that's the work that I do.
Thank you very much for sharing that, Abhinav. Big fan of all the work that you've been doing. I know working on the grassroots, I came across this problem firsthand, and I think access to credit and these kind of services are the key to making India to a developed level. Right, there are a lot of entrepreneurs, there are farmers, and a lot of individual micro enterprises that need access to financial services. And I think what you're doing is wonderful. I went across your website, saw that you are also doing a lot of API developer related products, and I think building on top of this would enable more and more businesses and folks who are working in the financial inclusion space. So if you are somebody who's interested in the financial inclusion space, definitely go forward and check out what Echo is doing. And I'm sure Abhinav and his team would be happy to help you in your pursuits. Thank you very much, Abhinav. And
thank you for those kind words, Abhijit.
Absolutely. I'm going to actually get piggyback on your work for the micro entrepreneurs that we work with. And I'm going to bug you over the next few weeks for sure. But moving forward, Teresa, we have here Teresa and Daniel, who've been doing some amazing work in the mountains. Please tell us more about your product and the amazing social enterprise that you've built.
Thank you. Thank you. It's an honor to be on this panel with such amazing entrepreneurs with such vision and passion for what they're doing. So Mountain Hazelnuts is planting 10 million hazelnut trees in Bhutan with thousands of growers, including nunneries and monasteries, increasing the income of as much as 15% of the population. Our gender-inclusive model to grow a sustainable cash crop provides employment, reduces rural to urban migration by providing income in the rural mountains. It restores degraded mountain slopes and sequesters 8 million tons of CO2. Then building a company from scratch allows us to have complete traceability of the hazelnuts, which is an important differentiating factor for our premium buyers.
Basically, the problems we're solving for are a small country in the mountains at an inflection point, a huge amount of rural-urban migration, ag sector, traditional and really a subsistence sector until recently, not very efficient, roughly 70% of the population. And what we need to do is to provide a cash income opportunity for farmers while maintaining their ability to still grow their own food and enhance their food self-sufficiency, and to generate foreign exchange earnings for a country which has really been very closed to itself traditionally. So doing all that in a way that we work with the traditional social network and culture. So interesting sets of opportunities and challenges.
Absolutely. I was just mentally counting all the impact that we've been having, creating livelihoods, saving the environment, taking something that's in a country like Bhutan and getting it out to the world. Wow, I'm overwhelmed with all the amazing work that you've been doing. Congratulations, and very happy to be chatting with you on this panel today. So, yes. So moving forward, all of us, I think in the core essence of this panel, Um, for each one of you, you've been able to create these social enterprises up from scratch. I'm not sure, like, except for Abhinav mentioning for 12 years, that's a huge amount of time, right? And I'm sure rest of you have been spending several years in building this. But what's that one inflection point, right, which tells you, hey, this is where I need to go full steam. I need to like push the throttle and go full speed. Like, what really tells you as a social enterprise specifically that this is where I need to scale? Would someone like to take that question?
And I can take the question if you're looking for people to volunteer. So for me and Bindi Maps, it was actually, we had a very nasty proof of concept that lived on my phone. And we had it over a few levels of a local university that was very kind to give us space. And I managed to rope in a friend of mine who was a guide dog user and managed to convince her to actually come and give this a go to see whether or not we'd been able to provide anything that was useful. So I gave her my phone and told her that I'd be behind her, but I wasn't going to help her in any way. And she had to go and find the cafe that was sort of, she had to go downstairs and up an escalator. And, you know, it was quite a tricky travel in a building that she'd never been before. And she got to the coffee shop, managed to order us both a coffee and managed to sit down with me. And she promptly burst into tears. Which horrified me because, of course, I was like, I am so sorry. You were safe the whole time. There was nothing. There was no one there that was going to bump into you. I was there. I didn't talk to you. And she said, no, you don't understand. I'm crying because this is the first time in my life I've been able to do this on my own. So for me, that was such a powerful moment. And this was years ago now. So this is 3 years ago. But it's really that's the memory that I hold on to and go back to when, you know, because things do get tough. as everyone will be able to say that, running any sort of business, startup or otherwise, there are moments where you need something to hold on to. Otherwise, you would just, you know, throw it all in and go and get, you know, a normal job.
Abhijit, I'm happy to share, you know, for instance, COVID, you know, we've been, especially in India, you know, we've been reading a lot about, you know, so many millions of people losing their livelihood. And, you know, what we kind of realized is that, you know, on our platform, we were giving individuals ability to kind of grow their business. And as a result of which, you know, for the last 13 years, you know, mostly what we had seen that retail outlets, the unorganized retail outlet owners would typically sign up to ECHO's program. But in the last 12 to 14 months, what we've seen is we've seen a very large number of individuals also latch on to ECHO's platform and start their own enterprise. And we are very happy with that. And we see young boys and girls latch onto it. We see a lot of housewives latch onto it. We see a lot of senior citizens latch onto it to create an enterprise for themselves. And so we feel that responsibility. And, you know, for sure, COVID is one time that, you know, we believe that it was important for ECHO to scale and scale it fast. And we believe that, you know, it is unfortunate of, you know, what the entire globe has gone, or the entire world has gone through. But I do believe that in a country like India, it will at least take a couple of years, or, you know, could even be longer, you know, where everybody who's kind of lost their jobs or have kind of got reduced wages are going to come back to their levels of pre-COVID, right? And we feel a lot of responsibility for that, and we are doing our bit. So for sure, COVID is a time that, you know, we believe that it's a moment for us to scale. You know, howsoever, you know, whatever we got to do, but to scale at this point in time, you know, where we are able to provide our services to a lot many people out there.
Absolutely true, Abhinav. I think that has been the case for a lot of enterprises as well. Like COVID, while it has been a heartbreaking situation for everyone across the globe, but it has also given an opportunity for us to rebuild and scale our work because of the adoption of digital technologies, and really look at systems change at its fundamental level. And I think entrepreneurs like you have played a key role in enabling that, and will continue to do so. Thank you. Teresa and Daniel, how about you? What
Yeah,
was your...
so really
Yeah,
not a
please.
specific inflection point. Thank you, by the way. Um, we recognize this challenge and we've experienced it and worked with it in a number of parts of the world over the last 30 years. Challenges to traditional agriculture sectors and communities, and what happens to families and traditional relationships and culture. For us, the perspective has always been, how do you build a systemic solution that addresses the different pieces that need to be brought together to be successful? And how do you do that in a way that is meaningful and appropriate, yet can perform in the market? Because we always develop commercial solutions. In this case, we have 11,000 orchards so far. And the orchards are run by either families or community groups, in some cases schools or nunneries or monasteries. So a wide range of people whom we train and empower and finance. And for us, it's really in the overall project design where we develop our sense of confidence that this makes sense in speaking with the different members of community. And as Teresa alluded to earlier, we try to build a really inclusive approach in the Bhutanese context and in a number of other countries where we've operated. Women play a really essential role in holding families together and communities together. So getting their engagement and input in project design is really essential at the beginning. But I would say that when we understand the issues as expressed by our local partners, we commit actually very early on based on the conviction that we have, and then have to really continue to re-up and refine and learn and innovate. So where we are, we need to develop, as we have, a number of different IT solutions, how to operate remotely in the Himalayas in places where there's limited infrastructure and provide connection, how to work with health issues for people in the mountains, how to financially empower people who don't know about financial literacy, how to bring financing from different sources, many of them international, to a country which really hasn't had foreign investment before at scale. So some of our old partners from World Bank and Asian Development Bank and more impact investors have come and followed us again into this business. But really for us, it's building a team that is inclusive and has colleagues who are indigenous who can guide us, and bring in international experts who have strong experiences that they can complement us with, and then keeping focused, because actually a social enterprise is a business and it has to be sustainable in all those different ways, including financially, as well as most particularly having its intrinsic meaning. Does it have value? Thank you.
Sure. Thank you very much for sharing that, Daniel. That actually takes me to my next question is, when you're scaling up, that means there is a lot of optimization of resources that needs to happen within the organization. You can't continue to work the same way that you were, otherwise it also increases your costs. and a ton of other things. But there needs to be certain processes set up. So how does one go about building these efficient processes when you're scaling up? Would someone like to take that question up? Abhinav, maybe?
Sure. Our experience has been, we can call ourselves somewhere in the fintech. We are in the fintech space, and also most of us, as founders, me and my co-founder Abhishek, we've both been engineers, and so we definitely, by our training, we are designed to think about technology, and as a result of it, my specific experience has been that we've got to keep looking at technology to help us really solve for automation and scale up, so that it doesn't really, the enterprise doesn't really become a lot too much of manual work, a lot of people. So our interpretation of optimizing resources through the last 14 years has been, do not employ a lot of people who do mundane stuff. We kind of champion ourselves as getting people on board, and getting people on board and giving them a canvas to do the best job of their lives. That's the aspiration that I have as an entrepreneur, for myself and for the team. And it is very difficult for me to create that canvas for somebody else if they really have to do mundane jobs, right? Same thing every day for 365 days is something that I would not like to do, and I don't want my colleagues to do it either, right? And so what we've done is, every time we kind of hit some of those ceilings for particular role or for particular person, we kind of continue to try and use technology to automate it, to make it less manual, so that the person can evolve into better kind of roles. And my personal experience has been, the smaller or the right optimized team that Echo has been, the more we have scaled. And just to give you a sense, we were pre-COVID, we were transacting close to about 3.5 to 4 billion US dollars in a year, and we were just 65 people. And post-COVID, right now, rather, I wish we get to post-COVID soon, but right now, we are 45, and we aspire to do 10x the business. And Abhijit, you're right. Just because COVID has also pushed a lot of people to get to adopt a lot of digital tools, we definitely want to get a lot of people digital and also use digital tools ourselves to kind of scale our enterprise. So I would, one of my experiences has been use technology as much as to its complete potential, and there invest in technology rather than in a lot of very large teams.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for that answer, Abhinav. So, Galil and Teresa, I have a specific question for you. When yours is a venture which is fairly geographically constrained, you are like, it depends on produce of a certain region in a certain way. It on a higher level, it sounds like, how can something like this scale? But then what really helps you identify that, yes, I have a scalability potential, and how is it that you are ensuring that specific as a consumer product, that the quality does not reduce or does not get affected while you're scaling up?
Yeah, great challenge. So we are planting across the whole of Bhutan in agroclimatic zones that are typically above 2,000 meters, typically between about 2,000 and 3,000 meters, which is an area which is generally really hard for people to develop cash crops, because supply chain logistics are very challenging. We're planting in literally hundreds of different steep valleys with very different kinds of conditions. So monitoring those conditions and staying integrated and developing logistics systems in places where roads may or may not exist, and being able to do is difficult, also with lots of different languages. Some of it you can automate, but a lot of it is human touch. So developing process, ways of thinking, and not just for our employees. And I think we're the biggest private sector employer in the country, with our own staff. And the people who run orchards are farmers. They are not our staff. We provide them the trees, the training, the resources so that they can grow their own orchards. But to have a full suite of systems and services, trainings, in technologies that people can understand, and recognizing that many farmers, maybe the majority of farmers, are functionally illiterate. But at this time, almost everybody seems to have a basic smartphone. And so you can communicate through different platforms. So you can provide audio messages and training and video training as well, and give people guidance. And of course, having hundreds of fully trained field extension workers who can work in the different environments so that processes are fundamentally consistent, even though the physical conditions are significantly different. So you can't start with this from the beginning, and you can't design this on your own or in a separate environment. You need to be working interactively with everybody. And you also need to understand what the local resources are and what the needs are of local people, and what also gets traction. Because designing a beautiful system on its own is elegant and satisfying to yourself, but really not so good for the users. And that's ultimately what matters. Are people producing volumes of nuts? Are they growing trees well? Are they preserving the environment? Are they driving the kinds of benefits, environmentally and socially, that make sense? And are those benefits being shared in ways that all stakeholders feel are appropriate? So fine-tuning, working together, and really being very open-minded.
And if I could just, I think it's also the team that you build. So, we're very lucky to be working together, but we also have an amazing executive team, and so built of local Bhutanese and also just a few expats. And then we also are very fortunate in that, I guess perhaps everyone wants to Bhutan, so we're able to draw on expertise and have experts come in for short periods of time to kind of look at a problem or look at a situation and help us expand or refine some of our processes in IT or community engagement, or how to build a better effective drying system. So I think it's really being open to knowing what you don't know, and also relying on others to come in and help you if you need it.
And then sharing. So we've had experts come from India and Australia and almost every country in Europe and the States and elsewhere. We also have shared our systems with social entrepreneurs from all over the world, some in virtual kinds of formats, and some who've come in person for training. So really learning as we go from each other and sharing. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. We've got a couple of questions in the chat. Before I move forward, Jatin, do you want to pop in and maybe get a few questions from there? I'm not sure if you're audible.
Jatin, we can't hear you. We can't hear you yet.
Okay. In the meantime,
Okay, let me bring the questions forward for you all, if that's okay. So Jatin is not audible. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pin the questions in front of you so that it's easier for you to answer them. Okay? So the first question is, can you please define how a social enterprise is different from normal enterprise? This is from Abhishek. He says, I see that every entrepreneur calls himself social entrepreneur. How can we clearly distinguish between the two?
You want to? Go ahead.
Hi, would someone like to take that question?
I don't know that we actually differentiate ourselves at Bindi Maps along those lines. We're venture backed, so we we have lots of different. We'll still. So I think we will look at it in our value set and where we say that things rank. And we actually value, it's interesting, it goes back to the last question, we value our staff as number one, and then our users as number two, and then down to customers and other stakeholders. So it's a really interesting question, because I've never really differentiated. So thank you for the question. It's good to think about.
Hopefully, Abhijit, you can hear me this time.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Abhijit, thank you so much. I have one round of questions for all our panelists. So social entrepreneurship is tough. Entrepreneurship is tough. Social entrepreneurship is even more tougher. So in your journey, were there moments that we thought, let's stop this and do something else? Or what was those most challenging phase that, you thought, okay, this is getting a little difficult? Any specific anecdote or moment you want to share? Daniel, Teresa?
First, I'd like to echo what Anna said, because we feel the same way. What we do is a business that has to perform, and we are also venture backed, and it has to succeed according to a number of different metrics. I think part of it goes to aspiration, and aspiration is really important in what the value set is that drives the different circles of stakeholders, and really considering the different circles of stakeholders who are involved, which include, of course, employees and partners. And in our case, it's a really complex web, which is essential. I would say that this business, which is unprecedented in Bhutan, but not unlike many social enterprises and businesses for hundreds of years, agriculture is not actually a new innovation to us. We have to remain humble and know that our people ahead of us over the generations have had to adjust, and we've faced really standard kinds of challenges, like persuading ourselves and then other backers and participants that we could succeed and that we could overcome challenges that people thought were impossible, and then to be able to do that at scale. And for us, it really is based on sometimes a crazy conviction and passion and willingness to commit, and a belief in our hearts that what we're doing has real value to it, and not giving up. And of course, some of the challenges have been financial, because we've financed ourselves in a series of rounds. And in many of the rounds, we've been told that this is not possible to do. It hasn't been done before, and maybe this is about time we should think about transitioning or giving up, and staying focused on what we need to do and what matters, and that success is not necessarily a strict linear kind of equation, and so that's our approach.
Yep. Anna, the most challenging moments and what kept you going?
There's been so many challenging moments. I don't know. I think where I get the most upset, or the challenging moments that I find the most challenging for me, is when I'm talking to people, customers, so the building owners, about people with a disability. And I think it's because there's not a lot of people with a disability that are out and about, and people don't know how to react to somebody who's blind. They don't understand the capacity of somebody who's in a wheelchair. So I think those are the moments where I sometimes want to throw something or someone against the wall. But we just keep going, and I just think, right, well, everyone's getting an education. We'll just keep moving. And I often say that one of my things of success is going to be when every sighted person knows how to shake hands with somebody who's blind. Of course, I can't say that in COVID times. I don't know what the rules are in other countries, but in Australia, we do not shake hands anymore. So how are we going to bump? Well, how we acknowledge somebody? Well, see, if you're going to be doing that, you can't see it if you're blind. So, so it's more about that, just that it's a normal interaction. Somebody who is a part of our society shouldn't be ignored because of whatever physical limitations they might have.
Yep. Everything worked out smoothly, or were there any hiccups?
lots of hiccups.
My God, I never thought it would be as tough as it has turned out to be. I think to pinpoint one single moment which has been very difficult is actually a very tough question. I really have to think about it. But if I kind of try and recollect 14 years in 30 seconds, we probably ran out of money 4 times. I don't know, how come we didn't die and we continued to survive to fight. So I think all of those moments were difficult. COVID was very difficult. It impacted our seller network. It has impacted customers. It has impacted severely the business. So I think where what I would like to share here, particularly to this question, is that I think for me personally, what I find most difficult is to encourage my team members every day to do the best job of their lives, day in and day out. I find this very, very difficult because it's a job that I got to do every day, and I can't take a holiday for that, right? Every Monday morning, I need to make sure that I encourage everybody to do the best job of their lives for this week, and do it again the next Monday, right? I find it very difficult, and I think it's a lot of soul searching for myself. So personally, I find it very difficult. Secondly, I think entrepreneurship has a lot to do with a lot of irrational things, right? And so if you think very rationally, you would probably not jump into it or start it. And I think that's the core of it. I think there is a lot of passion here. There's a lot of irrationality here. I think that is what keeps all of us, awake, trying hard every day to make whatever vision we have in getting that to reality. And I think all of that irrationality, all of this passion comes out, where you have to fight those days where there is no money in the company. You have to fight days like, the day India announced lockdown, all my colleagues looked up to me and asked me, what are we supposed to do? As if I knew the answer, right? I didn't. And so you kind of, think hard that day and say, what should I tell 50 people, 60 people, right? Yeah. And I think those are tough moments. And I think when you look back, there's a lot of learning to it.
Yeah. So we have 13 minutes left. So I have one more round of questions. So try to give 1 or 2 line answers. Then Abhinav will do the concluding ones. So this is with respect to the why the summit is being organized. There are a lot of early stage social entrepreneurs. Initially, people would start social enterprises because they are passionate about that problem. Probably now people are passionate, but there is an opportunity. There is a support system. So that could become a good career also, this development sector. So in your 2-part question. One is what would you advise your younger self that now after so many years a lot of things. So what is that one thing you could have done little differently? That is one. And second, what would you advise early stage social impact entrepreneurs or people who are seeing this as a career opportunity? Anna.
Oh, there's a lot to unpack in those questions. What would I say to the younger me? I'd probably give her some comfort. yeah, we too have run out of money, and that can be a very scary place to be in. And yeah, but you've just got to keep battling on. You also asked what we would do. Did you say what we would do differently if I could go back
Yes.
to it again?
And once you have that power, give it to us also.
Yeah, I think we would actually try and grow faster. I would put on more sales staff faster. Would be, and actually, how do we monetize? Which is a question on the chat. We sell into building owners, so it's worked out in the end, but it was a very tough to do large enterprise sales, especially in Australia. It's probably worldwide. But to be a startup of 1 to 3 people when we started selling into very large Australian corporates was a very tough road. It's worked out now because they've got deep pockets, but in the beginning it was a bit crazy. So.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much. Abhinav, 2-part question. What you could do little differently in your advice?
I would genuinely like, I think this is the flip side of being an entrepreneur. All entrepreneurs are very self-confident people, right? We all believe that we can make things happen. And I think entrepreneurs in general are very good judge of whether there is a product market fit, right? We believe a product is ready and the time is right now, because that's the passion, that's our belief. But I think entrepreneurs in general are passionate people, but may not have the best sense of product market fit. I have not been one. And think about it. I was trying to do mobile payments in India in 2007, right? Mobile payments in India probably started to really kick in 2014. For first 7 years, it was very, very difficult. And when I kind of look back, I kind of call our generation of entrepreneurs in India trying to do mobile payments as freedom fighters. We were really fighting freedom, from banks and other large corporations, where payments was kind of a prisoner to those institutions. And look at right now in 2021, we've got concepts like neobanks available where any third party can start almost like a bank, right, without a license. And so I see myself and some of our peers, the freedom fighters, who kind of fought a lot in the initial days to make such a fantastic space come out in about 10, 12 years time, right? So, but did I really want to be the freedom fighter? Probably not, right? And so I think sorry for the long answer, but but product market fit, good judge of product market fit is, I would always advise entrepreneurs to have a sense of that.
3:21. So Abhijit, you have 5 minutes because I want to take another 3 minutes towards the end. I want to come up with a rapid fire, but 5 minutes concluding questions from your side. Yes, Abhijit.
Yes, so I think one key thing that we were also discussing was, while we're talking about impact and all of these things, the big question also remains is, how do I get finances, right? Social impact space is still cash trapped. There are not enough investors who are putting in money into social enterprises. So what are the means that a social entrepreneur can go about fundraising?
Well, I can talk to my journey here in Australia. It would actually be interesting to hear of the experience in India. But here in Australia, I did fairly well with ultra high net worths. So angels, we would call them. But that then involved a lot of coffees, a lot of socializing to try and get that money across the line. But we found it initially it was much easier to deal with individuals that were making their own decisions before we went into venture backing, because that's somebody making investment decisions on behalf of someone else, which we found much more difficult in social enterprise until we had quite a few runs on the board.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. We've got Teresa and Daniel back again. I guess they were facing issues. So, folks, we were just chatting about fundraising. How do social...
Abhijit, you have went on mute.
Sorry, yeah. I said, how do social entrepreneurs go about fundraising for their ideas? What's been your experience?
Just 2-line answers so that we can have a few more questions towards the end. Yes. Daniel. Yeah.
A relentless iteration, trying to find people who are aligned, and then pursue, and never give up, and network a lot with people. So, relationship build constantly.
My husband likes to say you have to kiss a lot of frogs to, and I think that's very, very true.
That is a terrific answer.
I think it's really investors who align with you. I think one of the hardest things to do is to turn down money, and we've done it, I think, 3 times because, and as a CFO especially, it was very hard to do that, but we ultimately felt that these particular institutions or individuals
I believe
you have to, they always back through good and bad times. And if you don't think that they're going to be able to do that with you, then it's not worth the money.
Your 1-line answer for fundraising advice for social impact.
Do something impactful. If it's impactful, I think it should get money. I think one has to tell the stories appropriately. Exactly what we're doing. Yeah.
Awesome. So it's last 5 minutes. So try to give 1 or 2 word answers to it. So that I want to do 3 rapid fires. What is your support system? You have certain friends, certain you have certain types of mentor. What is your support system, Anna?
Family. I don't know if you can see who's just popped up. It's exercise, meditation. I think those are my 3 one-word answers.
Yeah. Teresa, Daniel?
Yeah, love, remember your purpose, and healthy habits for everyone.
Yep. Abhinav?
I guess family, friends, and good food.
Okay, awesome. And if we were to do a similar session after 10 years in 2031, in that case, how would you describe your work, Anna?
I would love to describe my work in that people with a disability get to join in to any part of our society, whether it be learning, earning, or having fun. That would make me very happy to be able to come back in 10 years and say that.
Awesome. And hopefully we could do it in person. GUSEC has scaled up, so they have a lot of budget to fly people all over the world, and hopefully in Bhutan. Daniel, Teresa, how would you describe your work in case if we meet again in 2031?
So for us, it really involves everybody in communities and everybody in the country providing guidance. It's
yes.
It's just always being open.
Jatin, not a very humble answer, but I would not want to be on the platform and probably have some of my sellers on the platform talk about how empowering Echo has been.
Brilliant. So typically, we ask this question, the next question, that kinds of questions are being asked towards the end of your career. That, how would you describe your entrepreneurial journey? But I will take this chance and ask this question. If you were to describe your entrepreneurial journey in 1 or 2 words, what would those words be? Anna?
The one to date, I would say lurching from pivot to pivot.
Awesome. Teresa?
I guess they don't have network.
Yeah, Abhinav?
Jatin, I guess self-discovery.
Okay, awesome. And this is the last question because we will finish on time. The question is, assuming this was a university convocation address that you are supposed to give, and where everybody in the audience is social entrepreneurs and everybody, and you have one line for your convocation speech, what would that one line be? Abhinav? In a grand style, change the word that is taken. What would it be?
No, you know what? I've learned three things in my 14 years: patience, perseverance, and hard work.
Okay, awesome.
I would just say that these are three virtues to kind of really imbibe.
Yeah. Teresa, Daniel, last 1 minute. Probably there is some internet issue from that side, but thank you so. Yeah, Anna, you take a shot at that. Your one-line grand convocation message.
Oh, I would tell people to never stop learning and never assume that you're right. Always be humble and listen to those around you.
Awesome. And Teresa, Daniel, your one-line convocation message. You'll have to unmute yourself.
I think our lesson is to have fun. It's, you know, this is
Awesome.
something you're doing out of love, not because you want a better lifestyle for yourself. So you have to have fun.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. Earlier I used to tell a lot of things that, but now after pandemic, I realize, and I only tell people one thing, that make good friends in life, because that will come very, very handy in your life. With this, we are towards almost, we have started on time, we are finishing on time. But thank you so much, Abhijit, Anna, Abhinav, Daniel, Teresa, and Harsiddhi. Abhijit, any last one-liner from you, or then else Harsiddhi will close the call then?
No, I think it's been a wonderful experience. Thank you, everyone, for joining in. Those were wonderful answers. Got to know a lot. It's been a pleasure hosting this. Thank you, Jatin, Harsiddhi, for this opportunity.
Yeah. Thank you so much, everyone. Harsiddhi, last announcement. What is coming next few hours?
Yes. So our next session coming up is about role of CSR and social entrepreneurship. But before that, I am glad for having all of you on board, and I thank each and every one of you. And I hope that you keep in touch with us for our future endeavors. And I'm sure our community attendees would really have a list of questions to be asked from you. And I hope we can do a session separately with each of you about it.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Okay. Bye.
This one.